Fresh from the showcase here at SwissWatchExpo, we are now in the expert level socially distanced challenge. So let's talk about some really cool watches that you hardly ever see in the marketplace, the Nautilus. These are watches that are extraordinarily popular and people are looking for everywhere. And a lot of people have a lot of questions about what makes this particular Nautilus so expensive. Sure, you can probably buy it for around $30,000 brand new for a steel watch, probably one of the most expensive watches in the world in terms of secondary value for a steel watch. This watch has been around since 1976. We've talked about the design from Gerald Genta and how it came about in the past. But let's talk about the fact that we actually have one of these watches in the 43mm design. The most recent history since 2006. This particular watch that's on my left is the most recent 5711. We have it. It is one of the most difficult watches in the world to get by far. And the interesting thing is that this particular watch does have the blue and black dial, as you would expect it to have. This is the porthole design, and in the shiplap form on the dial, it has the porthole design. The case is interesting on this watch because, believe it or not, it's actually three pieces. It has a top, middle, and bottom layer on it. And the little ears that are on the side of the case here and here are actually from, if you imagine a ship's window where it opens left and right, these would be the hinges for those windows. So you have one side that opens to the outside, and then you have the latch here where the crown is. So a very interesting design, because prior to 2006, this watch was actually a two-piece design, and it had a bottom layer that was all one piece. So it had a case and a bottom layer, and then it had the top layer with the gasket around the bezel ring, where the top ears actually laid down on top of the watch, and it almost looked like it snapped into position. So this is a really interesting watch in the way that it's made, because it's evolved a lot over time, and a lot of people don't realize that. In 1990, they had actually discontinued one of the versions of the Nautilus, and I have that watch here on the right. This is the 3800 series watch, which evolved from the 3700. This is actually a 37.5mm watch. And what I wanted to do today was actually show you, because I have larger wrists, I wanted to show you what these watches look like, because a lot of folks have questions. Why am I paying more for the 43mm? Well, in 2006, when they went to the three-piece design from the two-piece design, this watch went from a 42mm to the 43 that we have now. What's great about this watch is that it's really, really thin compared to other sports watches like it. And the water resistance value is really great. In combining that with the visual case back that this particular watch has, you can see through the back, the crystal case back, all the design of the Nautilus inside. It's a really great watch. It's really beautiful. But what's wild is when you look at the rotating assembly inside that winds the watch, it's made out of gold, but it's very, very thin. It almost defies imagination. It looks like, wow, if it was weighted too heavily, it would actually bend. It's an enormously cool design because of the thinness of this particular watch. One of the other things that you'll notice about the watch also is the bracelet and how it tapers. A lot of folks have the mistaken belief that this watch has a bracelet that actually stays the same width all the way down. It does not. It actually tapers. So I wanted to display that to you as well, because people have questions about these types of things. And they also have questions about the dial color. The dial color on this particular watch is blue with a black background. It is made out of gold, and the hands are made out of gold as well. So when Gerald Genta first designed this watch, the idea was to make this watch extraordinarily visible and flash light extremely well. And I don't know if you can see that in the way that I'm rotating this through the light, but it's a beautiful watch. And this is what makes it so popular. It's extraordinarily interesting from the fact that it was first developed in 1976. It was sort of the bicentennial year for the United States. And for somebody like me, it was my birth year. So every time this watch gains an anniversary, so do I. Let's not talk about the next anniversary, because I'd rather not. Let's put this on my wrist here, because I want to show you the size of this watch. The way that it snaps down, this is a little bit tighter than I would like to wear the watch, but it's only lacking by about one link, and I have a rather large wrist. So you can see that depending on what you're wearing, whether it's casual or whether it's suit and tie event, this watch works really well. The fact that it's thin, it's not bulky, it's not top heavy, it doesn't have that typical sports watch appeal. It's got a very classic appeal. Now, it's very controversial as well. A lot of people don't like this style. A lot of people, but the majority of the people do, and which is what's driving the price for obvious reasons. It's been popular since 1976. The first 4 years of this watch weren't very popular. Now, if you went back in history, I would say that a lot of folks would laugh at the fact that people scoffed at the design of this watch. But this is the 43 millimeter, and you can see that I wear around a 7.5 to 7.75 inch bracelet on my wrist. So you can see that this watch works very well on my wrist, even though it's large. Now, I want to contrast that because we get a lot of calls about the smaller version of this watch. Let me pull this one here off here. And this is the 37.5 millimeter watch. They still open the same. They still have that same tapered bracelet. You can actually see. This one's got the black dial and the Roman numerals. So this was the last iteration and generation of this particular watch in this particular design. This is one of the most highly coveted colors. There are other colors available, but this Roman numeral design was the one that really caught everybody's attention for the 37.5 millimeter. Now, funny thing about this, the larger design was called the Jumbo. So if you hear this referred to as the Jumbo, it's the 43 millimeter watch or even the 42 millimeter watch from the original design days. The 37.5 millimeter would be what would be considered the regular size. Now there are ladies pieces as well, and they also come in different precious metals and that type of thing, which we also have in our inventory. But I want to put this 37.5 millimeter watch on, and it looks relatively tiny on my wrist, as you can see. Now, in the early days of this particular watch, smaller watches were normal. Men used to wear between 32 and 35 millimeter watches. Obviously, the date just being 36, that was standard fare. So for this particular piece, when you measure across the dial in sort of a diagonal pattern, that 37.5 millimeter really makes a difference. For me, even though it's smaller, it doesn't look necessarily out of place, but you can see why a lot of people prefer the 43 versus the 37.5. The interesting way that these watches clasp on the back, they have a little bit of an overlap on the security side, just like some of the other sports models that you find from other manufacturers. But it has that butterfly design. So you lay it over and snap it down. It's a really great design for this particular style of watch. Obviously, both of these automatics, so you don't have to worry about having to wind them yourself. It's an interesting piece. So if you really want something that's out of this world and something rare in the marketplace, definitely give us a call here at SwissWatchExpo, because we do have the 5711, the 3800, and a lot of other styles too, because we have the ladies' gold pieces with diamond surrounds as well. We've got a lot of things to choose from here at SwissWatchExpo. Give us a call. Ring the bell, subscribe, and if you have any questions, obviously comment below, or whatever you may do to interact with us through all of our different social media platforms, including Instagram, Facebook, and other places.